Cool, so we're going to kick this off. Welcome everybody to the Blackout Day webinar. This is a special collaboration between the UK Black Business Show, BYP, Lendoe, Rich Girl Chronicles, Guap, Byooti, and Supa Network. So today the topic is why entrepreneurship is important to the Black economic empowerment. Got some great panelists with us today. So instead of me introducing them, I thought it would be worth me just kind of going around and just letting them introduce themselves each first. So I'm going to first ask Martin to introduce himself.
Hello all, and welcome to the Blackout Tuesday. So my name is Mark Martin. I'm a computer science teacher by trade. I've been teaching for the last 15 years. Now, 8 years ago, I saw there was an emerging gap between what I was teaching in my curriculum, but also, connecting what the industry needed, because all of these tech companies are moving in with their shiny buildings. But a lot of my young people couldn't access the gap between. So what I've done is I upskilled myself, was able then to, travel to different countries around the world to educate them how to, nurture homegrown talent. What are the future skills that our young people should be learning, but also how do you build successful businesses alongside that? Now, the spin-off of that is that then we kind of thought about what can we be doing in the UK. So we formed UK Black Tech about 3 years ago. And UK Black Tech is like an innovation group where we think about the world's biggest problems through technology, and we bring kind of representation, innovation to that. And hopefully throughout the conversation, we show more what we're doing at UK Black Tech.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Mark, for your introduction. So now let Emmanuel introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Emmanuel. I'm a financial advisor. Have been for over 13 years. Started off in the banks, Barclays, NatWest, and so forth, and then went through to be independent, and now have my own firm. Basically, about 3 years ago, I decided I no longer wanted to help just rich people get richer, and decided to see how I could help, the average person. As really and truly, financial advice in the UK is really targeted for more the high net worth individual. So I started off a platform, started off as an Excel, now evolved into the E-Man effect. And what I do is help people understand how they can manage their money, how they can buy their first property, how they can begin to start investing in the market, and how they make their money work for them. I also help business owners understand how they can make the money that they make from their business to create multiple streams of income, rather than just being solely reliant on the income that they provide from their business. And that's what I do.
Brilliant. So we've also got one more panelist who should be coming. His name is Demi. So we're going to wait for, he's going to come. He'll do his introduction when he's, hold on one sec, he's just here. Let me find him. Okay. Demi, you there? Hello, Demi?
Yeah, I think he needs to unmute his mic.
Yeah. Okay, we'll wait for we'll let Demi sort his thing out. But I'll introduce myself. So my name is Raphael Sofoluke. I'm the founder of the UK Black Business Show, which started in 2017 and became the biggest business show in Europe for Black business owners and business professionals. So since 2017, we've doubled in size each year. So going from a space where we had 25 exhibitors in 2017, where actually Emmanuel launched his business there actually.
I did actually.
From going to last year, 2019, to having just over 2,500 attendees and 110 Black-owned businesses exhibiting from across the UK, Europe, US, and Africa. And then this year, I've gone on to launch the Black Tech Achievement Awards in February to highlight those who are underrepresented within the tech industry, and was sponsored by JP Morgan, Facebook, Goldman Sachs, and BT in its inaugural year. So that's pretty much kind of about myself. We've got a great panel together to kind of discuss entrepreneurship today. So I'll just give you a bit of background before I kind of dive into some of the questions. So Black people have played a profound role in shaping the business landscape across the globe. Technological innovations such as the traffic light by Garrett Morgan, the automatic lift doors by Alexander Miles, and even Caller ID by Shirley Ann Jackson, all sprung from the minds of creative Black entrepreneurs. So in today's webinar, we're going to talk about why entrepreneurship is important for Black economic empowerment. So I'll just go into kind of what entrepreneurship is defined as. So entrepreneurship is defined as a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. For me, there's a few things that stick out in that definition. One thing is that, you know, you can have one business and be an entrepreneur. A lot of people think you have to have multiple businesses to be considered an entrepreneur, which is not true. So you can have one business. And secondly, the second part that says taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. That's one thing. I think a lot of people see the glitz and the glamour of being an entrepreneur, but actually it's a risk. And it says that in the definition. In the hope of a profit, many people start businesses and for the first 2 or 3 years are not making any profit. So I thought it was a great definition for us to kind of start off with. And also just been reading a lot about entrepreneurship. I saw a great example of how they described entrepreneurship as creating art. So the definition was basically an artist might use brushes and a blank canvas to create an art piece, while the entrepreneur uses capital and a business plan, with their expertise as basically like the blank canvas to create a business. But as a creative, you must understand that all the materials are not created equal. So you may have, you know, some of the brushes which have weak bristles, some paints which retain color better, and some canvases are just, you know, they're just better than others. The material we use to create our artwork has a direct impact on the final product. And that's the same as entrepreneurship. You know, the financing, the support, and other resources we obtain have a direct impact on the success of our businesses. So in an ideal world, you know, access to resources would be equal, and the output of the maker could be judged on, you know, comparable grounds. Unfortunately, for many Black business owners and entrepreneurs, this is not the case. And the effect of these materials weighs more heavily on us than, you know, some of our white peers. So I thought I'd just give that example to kind of just set the tone of today on entrepreneurship. But before I dive into the questions again, I'd just like to do a quick icebreaker, actually, with some of the panel speakers. So just quickly go around. I want you to say, you know, one Black entrepreneur who inspires you and what you can learn from them, what they can teach us all. I'll start with Mark.
I think I like Levi Roots. I think I like the way he's kind of taken culture, his capital culture, a product that people like, and then been able to, with the help of, you know, with the help of his passion and enthusiasm for what he's done, it's become a UK worldwide kind of brand. So I think for him, obviously, I don't know all the intricacies, but I like what I've seen so far, and something to inspire to.
Brilliant. Go on to Emmanuel.
I'd say someone who's always inspired me, and now I get to call a friend, is Bianca Miller. I love what she did from The Apprentice to and the story of not always winning. So she didn't win it, but she still carried on with her business and made it profitable, and then carried on doing multiple businesses and so forth, and is an inspiration and always taking time in what she does. And even though, you know, television might portray her to be in a certain way, when you meet her, you know that she's not like that, and she carries on to be an example to us all of a business owner and entrepreneur. So yeah.
Brilliant. I think for myself, it's a tough one actually. I think Mark actually said the one that I was going to go. with. So I was actually going to say Levi Roots, but I'm still going to say Levi Roots just because I'm going to say Levi Roots again. Yeah, just because he was kind of one of the first Black entrepreneurs, which I was seeing like in the spotlight through like the sauces he made and the drinks, the Caribbean Crushers. But for me, it was just like I was seeing growing up a lot of the Richard Bransons, the Alan Sugars, and as great it is to have some of those entrepreneurs, they're great. It was also important to have people that remind you of yourself, that reflect you. So for me, he stuck out as one of the first entrepreneurs which really kind of took to the screens and really was getting a lot of media coverage. So I think Demi's in now. Demi, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. So sorry guys for kind of running slightly late. Had some laptop issues, but I'm now on Zoom on my phone, so hopefully it should all be well from now.
You can do all of yours in one. So you've got to do your introduction, who you are, let everyone know.
Okay, so my name is Demi. I'm the founder of Lendoe and a co-founder of Capital Moments. Lendoe is a finance platform now, actually, which focuses on providing, we would say, underestimated entrepreneurs the finance they need to build legacy, overcome challenges, and scale up. So we do that in two ways. I mean, initially we've done that from actually providing our own loans of our own balance sheet, and to date we've done just short of £1 million in lending to some of the biggest Black entrepreneurs, you could probably say in the UK from a popularity perspective. But the second way we're doing it now really is for our partner network, which is really about connecting Black and underestimated, or I say Black and ethnic minority alongside early stage. So businesses that have just started, entrepreneurs, with lenders and financial institutions that are really willing to provide them the support they need. We find often that the banks don't really want to support small businesses or those from ethnic minority communities, but actually there are community lenders out there, social lenders out there like ourselves who have a mandate really to see how we can support and provide financial guidance to small businesses in the UK. So that's what we're doing now, and we're now looking at kind of how we use technology to make that kind of matchmaking pattern happen. So that's how the platform works. In regards to who I would say my kind of favorite Black entrepreneur is, I would probably say Tom Alube. And he might be someone that not a lot of people have heard about, but he's actually he's done extremely well in his entrepreneurial career. He's one of the board directors at BBC. He was kind of he played an influential part in ensuring the £100 million initiative that came out, I think it was 2 weeks ago, kind of went through for Black and diverse media media kind of founders and small businesses. He initially started off building Zopa, which is a peer-to-peer lending business that basically matchmakes savers that feel like the banks are not giving them the best rates with borrowers who can't get finance from the banks for whatever reason it may be. And he played an influential role in making sure Zopa was successful. And I think he's done extremely well. And I always look up to him and saying that we can get involved in technology. We can we can shift things, and we can build businesses where they say that we're not meant to be kind of operating. So yeah, definitely Tom Alube.
Amazing. Well, thanks guys for the quick icebreaker. I'm sure everyone's kind of waiting to get to the questions, to get to the gems from our panelists. So the first kind of question I want to ask our panelists is, for anyone watching this and wants to become an entrepreneur or set up their own businesses, can you let them know the key tips in starting a business? So I'll start with Emmanuel.
Good question. I think the key tips, I think the biggest tip I always tell people is to get started. I think there's so many other things that people look at, but I think the key thing is to test the market, test it. Does it work? Does anybody actually want your product? Is it viable? And then I'd also then talk about doing market research. So once you've got a product, get it out there, do the market research in order to see what the market says. I think a lot of the time, we look at what happens in Silicon Valley, and the first thing we think of is get finance. Like let's go get my 10 mil and get investment. You ain't sold no product, you ain't got no balance sheet, you ain't done nothing, and you're already looking to get a 10 mil investment. I think it's start local, start with your network, and that's a big thing as well. If you really want to get into business, you need to have a network. So again, things like LinkedIn and so forth, build your network, make sure you have contacts, look at the supply chain and who can help you become influential and who has key influence to the type of customers that you're looking for. I think those are kind of the main basics, but keep the costs low to begin with. Like, you're starting out, do you really need an office? Do you need a company card? Do you know what I mean? Do you need a company credit card? Let's keep the costs low and let's make some money before we start, living up to our CEO title on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. So I'm going to go with Mark next.
So I normally give this analogy around, microwave and oven. And what I see in this space is that everyone wants to do the oven thing, put it in for 5 minutes, pop it out, then, I've got some form of business. But real businesses take the oven work in the sense that it takes consistency over a long period of time. And it's actually, as Emmanuel was saying, it's around how do you build in trust, relationship with your target audience and delivering on time. I think that those are the things that are the right ingredients that you need to kind of consider, and also your altitude. Because I think a lot of times is that people see an opportunity and try and look at it face on value. But I normally tell entrepreneurs, try and look at it from the bird's eye view, look at it from the 50,000 feet view. Do you understand the industry? Do you understand the industries that are connected to your actual craft and actual initiative or projects that you want to push through? So these are kind of the things that I would recommend. Go the oven way, go the oven way instead of the microwave way.
Cool, brilliant. And Demi?
Yeah, cool, thanks. I'll just echo what both Mark and Emmanuel said. I think, the first thing you want to do is think about the end. And I think when I say think about the end, when you're at the start, it's really about what is the long-term plan. And in order to really get that long-term plan and understand what the end's going to look like, you have to do what Mark said about kind of look at it from bird's eye view and think about what is this whole journey going to look like. And if I don't know what this whole journey is going to look like, what research do I need to do in order to figure out what this whole journey is going to look like? And I think that's something that Emmanuel mentioned. So I'll definitely echo what both of them said in that perspective. Tip one is definitely think about the end. Where do you want to get to? And think about where you are and think about what it looks like to get there. But definitely think about starting small. Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, once said something. He was like, you want to have a problem, like, you want to have a problem where you don't know how to scale, because you want to get to a place where you've built a business in such a way in which it's unscalable, but once you've got to the level where it's unscalable, you can then figure out how to scale it. And what Airbnb done was they got 100 customers that really loved them. They couldn't really scale that kind of model, but it became a problem that they had to solve. So definitely think about starting small. Don't worry too much about, how's this going to be a global business? How's this going to be the business of the next Facebook? Think about, how am I going to please 100 or 200 or 150 people and get something going? I think that's imperative. And then I think lastly, like Emmanuel said, don't worry about the money just yet. Think about, how can I solve certain problems with what I have? How can I start with what I have? So definitely those three things.
Brilliant. I think there's some great points there. I'm going to also add a few as well. Just about one that I liked about kind of solving the problems. When you can solve a problem, there's no way you're not going to get customers. So that's one of the first things I would look at. What problem am I solving by creating this business? Also research is so important. Just knowing your market, knowing what you potentially would want to be like at the best. If you had everything, all your resources, that's something we looked at with the UK Black Business Show. We wanted an exhibition that was the best that could match up with some of the corporate events. So just knowing, what the end goal is. And for me, two key things that I always tell my team is execution and longevity as well. So just like they said, sometimes the money might not come in straight away, but it's about, building that reputation within the market, and also execution. It's all good that, your business looks great on, social media, etc. But when they come to buy from you, the product doesn't match up to the beautiful website and an amazing social media post. So execution is key for me. That's more of when you're in the business than starting up, but I also thought I'd just quickly mention that. So secondly, I'd like to talk about, what resources did you use or would you advise to use when creating a business? So did you go for books? Was it individuals you spoke to? Was it companies? What helped you start up your business? We can start with them.
Great. Fantastic question, by the way, Raf. This is a really interesting one. So the biggest resource that I had was knowledge. So like Mark said, I mean, I actually went into industry and worked for about 4 years before we really kind of brought Lendoe out to the public. And that I would say that was my biggest resource. I mean, other than knowledge and understanding how the industry works, making the right relationships, what I done was I, of course, kind of leveraged family and friends. I read a few books, but I'll definitely say kind of learning, kind of working in the industry is what gave me the kind of information I needed. But other than that, it was leveraging family and friends, leveraging kind of relationships that I had built in the industry. So it was, my biggest resource was knowledge in all honesty. And I think if you can understand your industry that you're going into as well as anyone else and try to kind of work in, someone who's already built what you plan to build, then you all of a sudden have this kind of competitive advantage where you know the industry so well. And, in some cases, you might even be able to kind of reach out to people who have built what you've wanted to build and get knowledge directly from them. So yeah, I would definitely say it's the biggest resource is definitely knowledge.
Brilliant, amazing. So let's go to Emmanuel.
Yeah, I'd agree with Demi on that one, man. Like for me to set up a business being a financial advisor, I could never set up a business being a financial advisor if I was never a financial advisor. So before I can go out and start, I need to know what systems in place, what's considered good advice, what's the codes and conducts, what the regulations, what insurance do I need to put in place, what's acceptable, what's the level of service that a bank is giving, so that I know I can compare that as myself as an individual. What are the struggles that a bank have that I might be more flexible being an individual? How do I market myself? What are the kind of promotions? What are the, do you understand what I'm trying to, actually being in there was the biggest thing for me. Now, obviously, not everyone can work in the industry. You might have an idea in a completely different one. But then I'd say you then need to speak to people who are in those industries. And again, this is why I always harp on about LinkedIn. If I know I'm going to set up a business in the industry, I need to stop pretending like I'm the first person to have this idea. Like there are people that have come before. And so rather than kill myself trying to work out, what do I do here? Let me go and find someone that's already in that industry doing it. And let me reach out to them, tell them what I'm trying to do and see if they give me 10, 15 minutes of discussion or give me, maybe build up a relationship where they may even give me some mentorship to help me as I start this journey. And I think though it's so important because yes, you can read something in a book and yes, it can work on a business plan on paper. And I advise everyone to do a business plan. But the reality is that the reality tends to be different. And so you need to have people who have been there, done it to kind of help you in that time. Brilliant,
amazing. And Mark?
So I done two interesting things actually. So what I done is that I'm a teacher and, you don't really find teachers kind of going into the business world unless you're a teacherpreneur. And one of the things that I found really useful for me is that I looked at my skill sets. So I became a specialist for all of the big companies in the world. So like now I'm sitting in probably the top 5 most decorated teachers in the world for just technology and having digital skills. And I feel that there's so much courses and different little things that you can get yourself into that then when you do go into that space of your area of interest, you can speak to it with a sense of you understand your brief. And then the second thing that I done is that I studied people online. So I created a Twitter list of like professionals and followed the top 50 best teachers in the world for at least 6 months. I tried to understand like what are they doing that I'm not doing. And then I started to follow all of the latest tech feeds that were around the world too. So I was using social media as a way of teaching me how to deliver a service and also deliver a product to a very high standard. And then off the back of that, I kid you not, I started after that 6 months, I started to kind of copy what they were doing. Then I started to see 100 followers, then 10,000, then 20. I'm like, wow. So good practice and sharing good practice actually works. So those are kind of things that got me to where I'm at now, just looking at what works, looking at my skill sets and trying to always, you know, improve my craft.
Brilliant, amazing. I think everything that you guys kind of resonated with me. You know, just researching, looking at people who have done it before. You know, not thinking that, you know, this idea is original. Sometimes you may have an original idea, but there's a lot of it that you kind of taken off someone. They say, you know, ideas, you may have a unique idea, but sometimes you've taken bits of it from different ideas. So it's about, you know, looking about who's done it, who's executed it right, and kind of building on that basis. So quick question I would like to ask as well. What are the main challenges that you've faced as an entrepreneur, and how have you overcome it? And let's start with Emmanuel.
I think the biggest challenge I faced was trying to get people to pay for my service. That is the biggest challenge, especially when, like I said, financial advice is aimed at high net worth individuals who have money and realize that they have a problem and are prepared to pay for it. So when you're now trying to offer that to people who maybe not normally have financial advice, or not normally think about having financial advice, you're now going against the grain. When you're now telling people, oh, don't go on that holiday, save that money and let's invest. Yeah. Now you're asking for a problem. And so again, it's about, for me, the biggest challenge was to get people to understand the importance of what I was saying, and then also doing it in a way that they want to hear it. So for example, I'm using Instagram, and when I first started on Instagram, I'm giving bare facts. I'm giving people all the intricacies about pensions and invest. No one don't care. That's not what they've come on Instagram for. So I've had to understand that when I'm going to give a video, I'm going to have to be a little rude, or I'm going to have to be a bit funny. I'm going to have to do it in a way that's going to grab their attention. Then once I've got their attention and they're following, then I can then, you know, add other stuff. But it's that initial drawing into my brand and into me, and understand that. So those are kind of the big things. And so price was big. So then I had to lower my price, even do stuff for free, even though I know how good I am at what I'm doing, and I know how professional I am. I had to do stuff for free in order to get out to an audience, to get them to build into my respect, to respect what I could do and deliver. Then get testimonies. Then once I've got those, now people are coming to me. Like now, for example, I don't need to chase. People know about me. They're coming to me. But in the beginning, I've had to build that. That's taken 3 years. And again, I can't. People will look at it and say, "Oh, he charges this, so I can charge it." But you're talking about 3 years down the line, or 13 years of experience. So again, we can't always compare where other people are at, or what other people are able to do to where you're at. So yeah, that's the kind of challenges I face.
Brilliant. Before I go on to Mark, how important would you say it was that you, in your early stages, done a few things for free, which you may not have wanted to do? But how important do you see it? Because I think we're in a day where a lot of people think, no, I'm brilliant at what they do, and they might be brilliant, but they might not have that exposure yet. So how important do you think it is to do that? Or do you think you shouldn't be doing it, or would you go back and not do it? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. I think for me it was important. And let me give you even an example. Like, for example, I've been on Channel 4, I've been on BBC. Both of them did not pay me anything towards what I would expect to get paid for the level of work that I did. Like, BBC is one of the worst payers in the world. No offense to BBC. Do you know what I mean? But off the back of doing BBC, that's where I make my money. Do you understand? So I have to understand that, yes, I know my value and I know my worth, but I have to see the bigger picture. So BBC gave me a change, but they know they can give me a change because they know that the publicity of being on BBC will now bring in the money that I'm really worth. Do you understand? And so even till today, I'm still doing things for certain organizations that I know I should be getting paid more on, but I understand what it does to my clout and value in regards to and reach the audience. So there's that. But then also you get liberty takers, you know what I mean? Like the big corporates that will come and say, you know, do this for £200. These times, you know, you lot make 10 bill a day. Do you know what I mean? So again, you have to know your worth and be able to say no. But I think in the beginning, it was really important for me to build my network and build my reach. And you have to know what's your objective. So for me, I had a job at that time. And that's something that's really important. I think is really important, is the fact that I wasn't relying in the beginning stages on my business to pay me. So I'm able to buffer that by having a job. So then I can go out and do these things to get reach and build clout and over time. But now I'm at a position where my business does pay me. So it's different.
Brilliant. So yeah, definitely about basically choosing the right opportunities.
Yeah.
And yeah, knowing which opportunities to take. So I'll go on to Mark, if you'd like to.
Yeah, so one of the things, I think one of the biggest challenges, you get gassed on the idea. You get gassed on it so much it becomes the block. And then then what happens is that you can't execute. You can't do all the things that you want to do for your idea. It becomes a block because you're running down people for the idea. You're throwing and obviously I feel the passion that you've got something there. And my kind of thing is that the challenge is that sometimes you need to take a step back and understand that this, the transition to obviously, whether it's making money or, getting the right clientele, takes time. It takes time to nurture and foster those types of relationships. And then and another challenge is sometimes you don't ask for help. Sometimes you don't ask for help in the right spaces. And for me, I've learned over the years that whenever I'm stuck, I know there's always a better mind out there that can actually help me, keep me to account and, basically help me through that process. But let me leave you with 3 things when you're going through a challenge, because I think sometimes people might say, Mark, give me a practical tip in terms of supporting. I normally have 3 people in my life to keep me on check with stuff. First of all, I got an elder, someone who's like in 60 plus, is always spitting out knowledge to me. And I feel that sometimes when I go through challenges, you need a wise area. You need someone that, you can call on. The second person is someone my age, someone that can keep me to account, someone that can keep me in check, someone that can hold me to the milestones and things that I have that I need to achieve. And then lastly, I have a younger person, obviously being a teacher, I'm always trying to impart what I've learned and the mistakes that I've made in my past so I can empower them. And I think that having those types of individuals in your life, when those challenges do come, one, you can keep it moving and you're not there trying to, flog a dead horse, as they say.
Yeah. And Demi?
Yep. Great. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Mark. I just want to echo one thing you mentioned. You mentioned about kind of chasing people down and kind of taking a step back. I think one of the big challenges that I think, the business is nowhere near finished built, but one of the things I faced building this business is having to kind of like do what he said and just humble yourself and take a step back and just say for a minute, you know what, actually, I'm doing this wrong and I need to now kind of look at things from a bird's eye perspective and see where I'm going wrong, as opposed to trying to cut the tree with a blunt, with a blunt kind of axe, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think it's not that that's a challenge. It's more that I think it's more the challenge is humbling yourself constantly, because I think one thing a business does is it shows you time and time again that actually you're not as smart as you thought you are, and actually you continuously have to evolve and change. So I think that's one of the kind of challenges I would say. I think another challenge I'm currently having with building Lendoe is learning how to let go. I think when you're building a business, if for that business to really reach the scale you might want it to reach, or to get to the end destination you want it to get to, you're gonna have to let go of certain responsibilities. They may be responsibilities that you used to love doing. It may be like managing your Instagram and making sure pictures are in a certain way, or it may be talking to clients and making sure that the kind of script is read a certain way. But you're gonna have to let that go. And I think being able to let go, it's not that it's a challenge. I think for any first-time founder where you've built something, it's so dear to you, and you've built it all in a specific way to kind of meet your certain requirements for a reason. But as you're going to employ other people and bring other people involved, they're becoming part of that business. It's more than just you, and they want to be empowered. So it means that actually the things you've put in place for them to do, they might not want to do it that way. They might get to that same end goal, but they might not get to the same end goal that you got to the end goal. So I think another challenge is, as a first-time founder, being able to let go and just say, you know what, take over operations or take over sales or take over finance, and being able to do so confidently and go to bed without phoning them and asking them what's going on here, what's going on there. So I think that's the second thing. And the third thing, of course, is always access to finance. Access to finance is always going to be a problem, especially for those from our community. And it's one of the reasons why we exist. But actually, as a piece of the infrastructure that supports the community, I've had challenges trying to access finance from some of these large institutional banks, or these large commercial banks, or these wholesale lenders that actually can provide us capital so we can kind of then provide it to the community in an affordable manner. that's been a major challenge. And I think, the way we're trying to get around that is actually looking at, all right, how can we be creative? How can we add additional services to the services we currently offer to increase the value we're providing? So actually, what we're being forced to kind of push onto the customer is worth it and is valuable. So I think those are the 3 challenges that, we've had kind of starting up the business, and those are the challenges we continue to have.
Can I just add something to what you just said there, around, I think that humbleness is also managing your bandwidth.
Mm.
The entrepreneur, when you first start out, you can be working some mad hours. Sometimes, just because you're working mad hours doesn't mean you are effective in that. And it's funny. I was looking at this research. I think most of you probably heard it on this call around, 80% what we do is useless, and that 20% that we don't think is useless is actually the most effective. So I think it's about how do we manage our bandwidth and our delivery. But yeah, Raphael.
Brilliant. I've got a few questions. I'm wary about the time, and I want to give our audience some time to ask questions as well. But I've got 3 questions for each of you individually. If you could just spend around 1 minute answering it, so nothing too long. So first question is for Demi. We talked about funding being an important resource. You deal with loans as part of Lendoe. When taking out a loan for a business that you're starting up, what steps should you take, and how do you know if it's the right, if it's right for you, and what's a good or bad loan? If you could spend just 1 minute doing it briefly.
Cool. So I'll start with what you ended with what's a good or bad loan. So firstly, a very bad loan is one that isn't transparent. So, I mean, one of the issues this business-to-business lending market has, or B2B loans have, is the fact that it's an unregulated market. So actually, there's a lot of sharks in this market. So the first thing I'll say is, if you're going to get finance, not only a loan, investment, whatever it is, make sure you know the terms in and out and understand those terms to the T, because actually that's where you kind of find what's good and what's bad. Because something that's transparent, very quickly you can understand if it's for you or if it's not for you. Just because a loan has high interest, it doesn't mean that it's a bad loan. It just means it's not the right loan for you. If a loan has low interest, it doesn't mean that it's the right loan either. It just means that it's got low interest, but do you know the terms? If the terms are great, then it might be the loan for you. I'll be totally honest, not loans are not for everyone. And I think when you're starting off your business, which brings me to your second point, when to know you're ready to take out a loan. I don't think when you're starting off your business from the get-go, you should be taking a loan then. You should be taking a loan once you know how that business operates, once you know the mechanics of that business, once you know, all right, how much is my kind of cost per product? How much am I selling it for? How much is my customer acquisition cost? When I calculate all of that stuff and I use history to predict what the future looks like, can I take on a loan to leverage or to kind of multiply what I'm doing with the capital I already have? A loan should never be seen as a product used to build you to kind of get your business going. It's always there to leverage the business. And I think the first question was the first point. What was the first point, very quickly?
Oh, you've answered it. It's good. It's good.
Cool.
I'm gonna stop you there just for time, but thank you. Amazing. Second one is for Emmanuel. So, I mean, one of the things that you do is managing finance. You work with, Black clients, but you also work with a number of white clients. What are the differences that you've seen generally between both communities in terms of managing money? Is there any differences? Is it the same, or what are kind of your observations on that? Just 1 minute, please.
Raph, you're trying to get me killed out here. I don't even how you ask me these big boy questions like this. Nah, basically, I think if I think there's any difference, it's to do with longevity. I think that with my white clients, they're 4th, 5th, 6th generation. So there are certain habits that are already been in place that have been passed down. If I deal with a lot of my Black clients, they are 1st or 2nd generation. So they are learning as they're going on, and therefore there may be mistakes that they're making, or there may be things that they are unaware of, or they're not putting into practice. So I think it's more about time, and like I said, knowledge is power. So it's more about the knowledge and where you're at. So a lot of my clients' habits have come from their grandparents, great-grandparents, and so forth. And so that's what they do. Whereas a lot of my Black clients are more first time doing it, first time buying a house, first time getting into investments or so forth. So therefore they haven't got the experience of their parents.
And what should we be doing as a community?
Oh my goodness. And you give me 1 minute. I'd say that I think as a community, I think definitely for me, there's the 3 main ways in regards to to building wealth. You've got one, which is property, two, which is investments, whether that be investment portfolio or pensions, and there's three, which is business. So those are the three main things. If we want to build wealth, those are the three things that we need to do. You can choose which one you decide to start on or which one you want to get to. But to me, if you want to be able to have multiple streams of income and you want financial freedom, you're going to need to have income in each one of those spaces.
Brilliant, brilliant. Don't forget to put your questions in the chat. If there's no questions, I'll just I'll carry on with some of the questions I've got planned. But yeah, get your questions in. The next one I wanted to ask was to Mark, basically about getting through the door. So you've worked with, a number of like huge corporate companies, likes of like Goldman Sachs, Accenture, JP. How do you engage with these clients on what I call bellwethers, the top tier clients? How do you engage with these? How do you get through the door? Did you open these opportunities?
So here's the secrets that we done. So it goes back to the pro bono work. So we must have done about 5 pro bono things, from events to campaigns to innovation kind of workshops. And then what we've done is we put that in a portfolio and put a price on that. So all of the pro bono work that we done prior, we priced it up and then we sold it. So now, anytime anyone reaches out to UK Black Tech, we just send them off our shopping list like, hey, we can deliver all of these things. Here are our examples of impact in the past. And sometimes you've got to engineer it. When you're putting on a play, you've got to find the right actors, the right costume, and the right setting. You cannot sometimes leave it to the ether to work itself out. And that's what we done in terms of engineering, in terms of certain events that we wanted to do. We didn't want to do no diversity events to talk about how does it feel to be Black in tech. But actually, if you want to hear about the next 100 years of machine learning or the data science or, artificial intelligence, yes, that's the conversations we want to move to. And then once we go to a company, we say, okay, instead of working on your diversity solutions, we want to work on the biggest problem in your company. And I can bring 4,000 of my tech innovation group to kind of solve that. So once they start hearing that and we change the narrative, then, since we've kind of taken that approach, more people have actually bought into our services. So just a little recap, make sure that you work on your, the portfolio that you have, show some impact, show some improvement, and engineer that play.
Brilliant. So going to go into questions. So quickly, just one tip each. Top tips for networking as a new entrepreneur from Annabelle Ola.
So one of the biggest things that I done is that I just, I went to, like before the lockdown, I was going to every single Eventbrite and meet up in my field and just networking with people there. There's people always interested in that space. And then, that's how I kind of built up my network, by going out after hours and connecting with those professionals.
I think the biggest tip, like I said, I started my business off the Black Business Show. I think sometimes if you know where your customer's going to be at, be there. So I literally started Black Business Show, and day one, launched my business there. I got 500 people, contact details, emails that I can message. I then did a seminar. I emailed all those people. From that, they then bought tickets. They then told friends. And yes, you can do things on social media, but a physical presence and being able to be there in a physical way can really grasp. So make sure that you're in the right places. And then obviously, I love a LinkedIn. So definitely go on LinkedIn, use LinkedIn to build up your network.
Brilliant. You heard it. Make sure you're at the UK Black Business Show. That's the place to be. So yeah, Demi, quick
tips. Be strategic. Echoing what Emmanuel just said. Use things like LinkedIn that you can stay on 24 hours. And, you can stay on all day and just literally message people. But also use events where you can get a group of people in one place that fit your customer persona, and you can target tons of people. And from there, you can build up a mailing list, and then you can just kind of keep in touch with them. And also, of course, you want that physical presence as well. It's always good to look at the why in someone's eyes when you're sending them a service.
Brilliant. Another question, I will just go straight into Demi, can start off. How did you go about getting a mentor?
Good one. Add value. That's simply it. Don't go to a mentor asking. Go to a mentor with a problem where you've shown you've added value already. That makes sense. And actually, just a little bit of their guidance or their expertise can add massive value to a community in some way, shape, or form. So, quick example, right? You know, someone I call my mentor today is Tim Campbell, right? Or someone that I look up to who started Bright Ideas Trust or Bright Ideas Future, which was the first kind of social lender, social investor in the UK for our community in particular. Now, reached out to him on LinkedIn, didn't work. When I met him, I told him about a problem that I know he could potentially, with a little bit of his time, could solve. But I've showed him that I've been adding all of this value behind that problem, if that made sense. And because of that, he plugged into that problem, helped me out. And, you know, that from then on, we've always spoke. And loads of other mentors that I have as well that I can mention. But I think definitely add value and then go to the mentor and ask them for their value.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I'm just going to ask another question to save time. This one seems like it will be good for Mark to answer. So any advice for creatives building digital businesses such as blogs, YouTube, or podcasts?
Good question. Ownership. You know, one of the biggest things that I've seen in the last, you know, since I've been born is our culture capital. Our culture capital can sell. We can make money off our culture capital, but we just don't know how to own it and package it up in a way that makes sense to anyone. And I just think that in terms of the content creators making all of that wonderful content, come on, man, you need to try and think of some type of legalities, copyright, Creative Commons. If you don't know that, jump on LinkedIn, find someone in the Creative Commons space, because I think that there's so much that we miss out on and we bring to the actual, you know, we bring to the industry, whether it's through music, culture, whatever it is, we bring a lot. And I just think that ownership is also. And then lastly, for the content creators, it's about creating a network of other content creators and sharing that wealth amongst you, because I think that sometimes what happens is that one content creator gets pacified because he gets a big bag or a status, and then it becomes ineffective. And my kind of thing with the content creators that I work with, and I work with a range of them, is about group economics. How do you show that wealth amongst each other?
Brilliant. Another question. If you plan to start a business, Emmanuel can take this on. If you plan to start a business in a country that you are not currently living in, how do you gain the research acquired, basically, and the market understanding?
For me, I guess the best way to do it is to be on the ground. You have to get people who are on the ground, but you have to go there first. You have to go there and build those relationships. So, for example, I've got clients who do clothing and so forth, but they have to go to Asia, wherever it may be, to actually speak to. Yes, you can use, you know, Alibaba and all them stuff, but you're not going to get the best price. Do you know what I mean? And so cost is something that's really important. So you want to create a supply chain. You want to go down there and then get people that you trust that are on the ground that can work and move. I always talk. I mean, the other day we realized that, you know, Supermart wasn't owned by black people. I think that was like a shock to them. But do you understand? You don't have to be here. If you've got the right things on the ground, you've got the right branding, you don't have to be in the country. You don't even have to be the people to sell the product. So it's being done all the time. So it's about making sure that, you know, you have the right connections, the right chains, the right things in place, and you'll work from there.
Brilliant. Quickly this is probably the last question, and I'll just throw it at Emmanuel. It's been directed at Emmanuel. When building generational wealth and wanting to be financially free, should paying off student loan be a part of this strategy and discussion?
Good question. No. You lot stop. I get the student loan question every single. Chill out. Student loan is a different type of loan. It's not. You understand? It's not a choice. When you get paid, they take that before you take it. So it's a different choice. And remember, because what people do is, I understand it's annoying. You see a basic student loan, you just want to punch somebody. I get it. But at the same time, what you have to remember is that if you go through periods where you are making less than a certain amount or not making at all, you're not making payments. It's not a normal loan. And if you get to a certain age and it's not paid, it gets wiped off. So just chill out, let it take its course. It will take their money. When you start making your big bonuses, don't worry, you're going to feel that and it'll go down quick. So don't feel like, again, when you're applying for lending and so forth, they don't reduce it. Like your mortgage is not affected if you're paying student loan. All right. Most lenders take into consideration that. So don't feel like you have to pay it off. Obviously, if you have the money and you want to get rid of it, then do so. But it's not something that has to be a priority.
Brilliant, amazing. Well, firstly, I'd just like to thank you guys for being a part of the UK Black Business Show panel on this special collaboration for Blackout Day. Some amazing kind of comments and gems being dropped today. If you could all just basically say your social media handles, let them know where they can follow you. I know you guys have got a bunch of questions, but this is where you can follow them and you can find out more about their business to get the answers. Me, myself, you can follow me at Raphael Sofoluke on Instagram and Twitter, and also UK Black Business Show at UKBBS Show. And then I'll go on to Mark.
Yeah, so you can find me at urban_teacher on Twitter and Instagram. Also, you can follow us, UK Black Tech, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and the rest of the social media. So either one will be fine. Reach out to me if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Brilliant. Emmanuel?
Yeah, it's Emmanuel Suko, ASUO for LinkedIn. It's the E-Man Effect UK on Instagram and Twitter. And team@emmanuelasuko.com is the email.
Brilliant. And Demi?
Yeah, you can follow me on or Lendoe at We Are Lendoe on Instagram, at We Are Lendoe on Twitter, and Lendoe on LinkedIn rather. And then if you want to get through to me directly, it's demi@lendoe.com. So again, it's We Are Lendoe on Instagram and Twitter. And then yeah, you can give me.
Two things I want to mention before we go. We've got the next webinar starting at 1:15, but also we'd just like to mention to plug in the BYP crowdfund. Make sure you take notice of that. Make sure you invest. It's a great opportunity. And also, which you can find out more on the BYP Instagram and also on their website. But also our GoFundMe for the UK Black Business Show for travel for Black teens. They've stopped travels for under 18s. And we want to ensure that Black students are not impacted. So we've got the GoFundMe. I've just put the link. I'll put the link in the Zoom right now. And yeah, even if it's a small token, it's all going to be going to children to help pay for their student travel cards. So that's the end of it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts on if it was good, if it was bad. But yeah, pleasure to have you all and join in for the next webinar at 1:15. Thank you.
Cool. See you people. Bye.
See you later.